Well, hello, my friend Terry Narosan, coming to you from my home office in Edmonton, Alberta. My friends call me the Duck Doctor because I have a background in biology, but am currently working from home, loving it. Mostly working as an affiliate and network marketer, and using the internet to generate leads and sell products. And as a result of that, obviously, computers and a good functioning computer is really very important to me. And consequently, I recently went through an exercise in wanting to upgrade my hard drive in my existing computer. Now, I run a Toshiba Satellite Pro L550 laptop. And the hard drive in it is about 250 gigabytes, of which about 220 are usable for storage, and so on. And it was starting to get full, and it was slow. It was 5,400 RPM, a serial ATA drive, and I wanted to upgrade it. And I wanted to do it quickly, easily, and without having to reinstall my Windows operating system, the Windows 7 Pro, and then go through the process of reinstalling all my programs and then restoring my data and so on. I wanted to be able to clone my existing hard drive to a new larger disk really simply and easily, with everything simply preserved. And so I went out and bought a 750 gigabyte Western Digital serial ATA drive, advanced format drive, from a Memory Express, a local computer shop, and went about doing a lot of research on the internet to determine what the best method would be in order to do that. And my original plan was to create a Windows system image and back up all my data and store the image and the data on an external drive. Now, with creating a Windows system image is really simple in the Windows backup system, and so I could easily do that. It takes a bit of time, but I did that, and I stored it on an external drive. And then I created a system repair disk, and my plan was to remove the old hard drive from my laptop, put the new hard drive in the drive bay on the laptop, boot the computer using the system repair disk, and clone the old drive to the new drive from the system image that I had created. Now, I did find, after some looking, a procedure on the internet describing a step-by-step process to do just that. And it even dealt with cloning an old drive to a new Western Digital hard drive. All right, so I thought I had the system down pat, but before I did that, I contacted Western Digital, and they advised me that that was not the way to go. And consequently, I took their advice, which was, you go ahead and attach the new drive to a serial ATA to USB adapter and connect with your computer via a USB cable. Secondly, they said, use the Acronis True Image software, which I could download, and which I did, from their website, to clone the old drive to the new one, and then simply swap out the old drive for the new one when the transfer was complete. Okay? So, I proceeded to do that. I just happened to have a BYTECC USB to IDE SATA Adapter Kit, which I could use. This one I had to replace, but nonetheless, this is the system. It's basically a power supply that plugs into the adapter itself. It's got ports for IDE drives, different sized IDE drives, 3.5 inch and 5.5 inch, and a port for a serial ATA drive, which is this little 2.5 inch guy here, which was basically the new one, or actually this is the old one out of my laptop that I'm just using to show you how it hooks up. So plug the power into here, plug this into the adapter, turn the power on, and then plug the USB cable into your computer. And that's what it looks like. Hook it up and plug in the power, light turns on, and then you plug in the USB cable to your USB port on your computer. And the sequence is really important. First, plug in the power to the adapter, plug it into the wall, attach the drive, turn on the power, red light comes on, plug in the cable to the USB port, light should turn green and do what you're supposed to do. Well, that didn't work. I could format the drive and I could activate it. I could see it in my computer. I could see it in my device manager, but I could not install the Acronis software because it was locked to Western Digital. You had to have a Western Digital drive in the system, and this method did not allow the BIOS on my motherboard to read the Western Digital signature on the drive. So despite the fact I had a Western Digital drive hooked up to the USB port through the adapter, my computer did not recognize it, and I couldn't install the Acronis software, so I couldn't do a disk image and transfer. So that did not work, and that was the advice from Western Digital, which took 2 or 3 days to actually get and complete, and didn't work. So I went down to my computer shop where I bought the hard drive, and they checked it out, checked out the hard drive, checked out the USB, SATA to USB adapter and so on. Said they were fine, but suggested that this is the way to go. Go get a hard drive standalone duplicator. Looks like this. Just happens to be by the same company that made the SATA to USB adapter. And looking down on the top of it, there are slots for 3.5 inch drives and 2.5 inch drives, 2 of them, one for the target, in other words the drive you want to copy your old drive to, and the source drive. So, and the power supply, and this cable plugs into the power supply here, plugs into the wall, and this plugs into the unit, and away you go. So here's what it looks like with the ports. It's got a power button, it's got a DC in, which is this DC power supply plugging into this port. It's got a USB 2.0 port, which incidentally allows you to use this as an enclosure, so that you can, if you have a drive that's external drive, you can actually plug it in here and use it as an external drive by using the USB port. Plug the USB cable in here and plug it into your computer. It's also got an eSATA slot, and here's the duplicate button. Okay, so what I did was flipped over my laptop, and this is the bottom diagram. First thing I did was remove the battery. This is the battery case, and these are the battery locks. Really important. Anytime you're going to go inside your computer, you're going to take the power supply away. So if it's plugged into the wall, you unplug it. If it's a laptop with a battery, you remove the battery before you do anything else. This is the bay for the hard drive, so you simply unscrew it here, take the lid off, carefully remove the hard drive, and you're away to the races. This just happens to be the bay for the RAM, the memory, the laptop memory. So I've done that. I've hauled out the this doesn't happen to be the drive, but I hauled out the source drive, the drive that's in my laptop, the original drive, and then you plug in the target drive into this slot, and in order to start it up, you plug the power adapter into the wall, and then you plug this cable into the DC in port on the duplicator. You've got the drives in place. Now you press the power button once. Red lights come on here, indicating the power's on, and then you press the duplicate button once, and the red light starts flashing for 5 seconds, and immediately that it quits, you press the duplicate button again, and now blue lights light up, which means it's now actively duplicating, actually duplicating one drive and writing it to the other. In my case, it probably took about half an hour to 40 minutes or so, maybe more, to actually complete. Once the transfer is complete, all the lights turn off. You can then unplug the power supply, take the drive, the newly transferred drive, the target drive out, and put it back into the computer. And then you go to disk management in your Windows system, and I'll just show you quickly how to find that. What you do is you go to your control panel by clicking, start on your computer panel, and you click on System and Security, and that takes you to System and Security, where you have a whole bunch of options, and what you want is Administrative Tools, and in my case, in Windows 7 Professional, create and format hard disk partitions. Okay, and so you click on that, and you get to this screen, which is, well, let's just yes, okay. So now this is a copy of what happened after I did the transfer. Forget about this for a minute. Here's what my original drive looked like right here. 1.46 gigabyte partition, which is a recovery partition. The main partition, the main active partition of 220.7 gigabytes, and then a 10.7 gigabyte partition that was empty. I don't know why it was there. So when I did the transfer, what I saw when I put the hard drive back into the computer was this was completely duplicated, but on this end of the diagram there was a big chunk of unallocated space, which of course I expected to see because I was transferring my 220 gig hard drive to a 750 gig hard drive. And so the picture that I saw there was a big block of unallocated space. And this represented a bit of a problem because, as you can see, these bars up here are blue, and they say they're primary partitions, right? And this unallocated partition out here the bar was black on the top as shown here. Okay, and so I wanted to combine this partition with this big unallocated block. Obviously I wanted to extend the partition. And I didn't want to name it a different drive, a different logical drive or anything. I wanted to have one big drive. And fortunately, if you right click on this, oops, I gotta get the actual, if you right click on any of these blue bars, you have a bunch of options. And what I was looking for was extend volume or delete volume. Now obviously I didn't want to delete used volumes, but I wanted to extend the volume. So what I wanted to do was extend this volume and combine it with this big chunk here. However, you can't do that. You can only do that with contiguous partitions. So this little partition in the middle was causing me to not be able to do that. However, up here in the information with regard to the various drives you have and the various partitions you have, there's a annotation for how much of it's free, and I was able to tell that this little partition was actually empty. There was nothing in it. Consequently, I could right click on here, choose delete, and blow it away, and consequently I could combine or extend this partition. Okay, so once I deleted that, I just right clicked and chose extend volume. Alright, and that produced what I now have in my computer, which is the big new Western Digital hard drive with the 1.46 gigabyte recovery partition preserved from the original drive. This isn't really in my computer now. I just made this copy by plugging it into this unit. Okay, so that's preserved. All of this is preserved, but I've combined it with about 500 gigabytes of unallocated space into this big primary partition. And consequently, I have solved my problem. I have cloned my drive, created a big 700 gigabyte partition that's got all my operating system, all the settings, all my data up to date, there forever, and I've still got this old hard drive sitting there waiting for me to determine whether or not everything about this new drive is working properly. So far it is. So I'm away to the races. Talk to you later. By the way, go ahead and click the link in the description below this video, and you'll find out exactly what I do in terms of internet marketing and training. I work with a company called My Lead System Pro, which is why I do a lot of work on the internet, which is why I need a good quality computer and so on. And let me tell you, before I discovered My Lead System Pro, I was a struggling marketer. I wasn't being able to generate leads, and I wasn't getting very far in building my business. But since I discovered them, I've learned exactly how to generate leads every day and make sales, primarily using the internet. None of this chasing friends and family and running around in malls and accosting strangers, or putting up stickers all over the place and posters and that kind of thing, or doing hotel meetings. I do it primarily with the internet right now. Not to say that lots of other ways can't work, and that I will not engage in belly-to-belly, person-to-person marketing, but primarily I focus on finding people through the internet and then establishing relationships with them. So go ahead and click that link, and maybe we'll talk. Talk to you later, my friend. Bye-bye.